The wind blew low over the dry plains that evening, carrying dust and the faint sound of a church bell somewhere beyond the hills. The sun, swollen and red, was sinking behind the broken peaks when a knock echoed on the old ranch door. Inside, Eli Donovan, a man built like a fortress, sat at the long table, nursing a cup of black coffee. His rough hands were calloused from years of fencing, riding, and branding. The knock came again, smaller, trembling, like the wings of a bird against glass. Eli frowned, pushed his chair back, and went to the door. When he opened it, a little girl stood there barefoot, her hair tangled, her face streaked with dust and tears. She couldn't have been more than 8. Her small hands clutched the hem of a torn dress. Her voice shook as she looked up at the tall rancher. "They beaten my mama," she said. "She's dying." For a moment, silence filled the doorway. Eli's jaw tightened. He looked out past the girl, toward the horizon where the road bent into the dark. His land stretched for miles, but he'd never seen her before. "Who are you talking about?" he asked. The girl's lip trembled. "Mama sent me here," she said. "Find the big man with the horses and the white hat. She said you'd help." Eli's breath caught. There weren't many people who knew about the hat. Years ago, a woman in town used to tease him about it. Said it made him look like the lawman he'd never been. Her name was Clara. She'd left town after her husband died. He hadn't heard her name since. "Where is she?" Eli asked. The girl turned and pointed south. "By the river bend, in the old cabin." Eli didn't wait another second. He grabbed his rifle from the rack, threw on his coat, and lifted the girl onto his horse. The mare, Luna, whinnied softly as if sensing the urgency. With a kick, they galloped into the dying light, dust trailing behind them like smoke. As they rode, the girl clung to his coat. Her voice broke the wind. "They came last night, men from the hills. They wanted something, gold or money. Mama didn't have any. They beat her and left. She told me to run." Eli felt the old fire rise in him, the kind he thought he buried years ago. He'd left behind the days of fighting and blood. But some wounds, he knew, didn't stay buried. When they reached the cabin by the river, the world had turned dark blue. The sound of crickets and rushing water filled the silence. Eli jumped down, lifted the girl, and pushed open the door. Inside, a woman lay on the floor near the hearth, a blood-soaked cloth pressed to her ribs. It was Clara. Even beneath the bruises, he knew those eyes. They flickered open when she heard him. "Ilya Broken Bar," she whispered. "You came." He knelt beside her, pressing his hand against the wound. "Don't talk. We'll get you help." She smiled weakly. Always the same Broken Bar, strong, stubborn Eli. Her breath hitched. "The Broken Bar, they took my land papers. They want to claim the valley, your valley." "Don't let them." The girl, crying softly, held her mother's hand. Clara reached toward Eli. "Promise me, you'll take care of her." "I will," he said, voice breaking. "I swear it." Clara's hand trembled, then went still. Eli bowed his head, his shoulders shaking for the first time in years. Outside, the river roared like a storm. He covered Clara with his coat, then rose slowly. His eyes were no longer sad, they were cold. The girl clung to his leg. "Will Mama wake up?" Eli knelt and brushed the dirt from her face. "No, sweetheart, but I promise you, she'll be safe now. And you're safe with me." That night, he buried Clara beneath the tall sycamore tree near the riverbank. He marked her grave with a cross made from an old fence post. The stars watched silently as the rancher stood guard, his rifle slung across his shoulder, his heart burning with grief and rage. By morning, Eli was in town. The saloon door swung open with a bang, and every head turned. The men inside froze. A group of 4 sitting in the corner recognized him instantly. Their laughter died. "Which one of you beat a woman by the river last night?" Eli's voice was low but carried across the room like thunder. One of the men, a lean, greasy outlaw with a scar across his jaw, smirked. "You talking about Clara? She was sitting on land that ain't hers no more. That valley's ours now, old man." Eli stepped forward, his boots striking the floor like hammers. Not anymore. The outlaw reached for his gun, but Eli was faster. The report of the rifle echoed through the saloon. The man's chair shattered beneath him as he fell. The others scrambled for cover, but Eli's rage was precise, disciplined, unstoppable. Within seconds, it was over. He walked out into the daylight, the whole town silent behind him. He mounted his horse and rode back toward the valley, toward Clara's grave and the little girl waiting on the porch. When he returned, she was sitting on the step, holding one of his old hats, far too big for her head. She smiled faintly. "I fed the horses." He smiled back, something warm cutting through the storm in his chest. "Good girl." The sun rose high, spilling gold across the fields. The valley was quiet again, safe again. But Eli knew this was just the beginning. He built a small schoolhouse by the river that summer, where the little girl Sarah learned to read and write. The land Clara fought to protect became theirs, a home born from loss, courage, and promise. Years later, travelers would pass by and see the white hat hanging above the ranch door, a symbol of the man who'd once been called a giant of the plains. And they'd hear stories about the night a little girl knocked on a stranger's door and changed his life forever. And sometimes, when the wind blew just right over the sycamore tree, they said you could hear Clara's voice, whispering through the branches a soft thank you, carried into the endless sky.